Hello internet, my name is Lave and I watched Terminator Dark Fate, and I'm sure, like many of you, when this was announced, I went, okay, here we go again. So this one is directed by Tim Miller, the director of Deadpool, but he also had a hand in the really cool Netflix animation anthology Love, Death and Robots, which actually gave me a slither of hope that this might be worth a watch. So once again, a cyborg is sent back from the future to kill a young girl called Danny in New Mexico, but fortunately so is a lone protector called Grace, an augmented human cyborg hybrid with the ability to kick some serious butt, and the two go at it, but fortunately help is on hand from Sarah Connor, who is still battling to save the future and mankind. Okay, so let's start off with what this film gets right. Firstly, it completely disregards all of the events that happened in Rise of the Machines and Salvation and Genisys. Thank goodness for that. The very first scene in this film lets you know that Terminator 2 is its jumping off point in a fantastic way, which I don't want to spoil. All I will say is, in the first 5 minutes of this film, I was like, holy shit, this is great. And then the film puts the pedal to the metal as we meet Danny, the new target, and the hunt is on. Like T1 and T2 and Rise of the Machines, to be fair, it's a race between the two time travelers as to who gets to her first, and they duke it out and they just about get away with the help of Sarah Connor. They're on the run again. And that's another thing the film gets right. The new Terminator, or Rev 9 as it's now called, played by Gabriel, who's great. He's terrifying, he's scary, and it absolutely comes across that it feels no pity, no remorse, no fear, and it absolutely will not stop until she is dead. The new mix-up, what they've done, what's different about him this time is that he's got an endoskeleton as well as a liquid metal exterior, which is a bit gimmicky, but it does add a new dimension to all of the action. The important thing about his character is that they get the stalking aspect of him right. When the character's saying this, he's found us, you're like, oh shit, he's found you. Run. Linda Hamilton slips straight back into the role of Sarah Connor. She is arguably even more rough around the edges than when we last saw her in T2. She's still suffering from trauma. She's still not a people person, despite the fact that she's got a lot in common with Danny, played really well by Natalia Reyes. But the most badass of the female trio is Mackenzie Davis as the super soldier. She literally smashes heads and kicks ass. And honestly, I was fine with the film and actually having quite a blast with it when it was just this trio of female characters playing cat and mouse with the Rev 9. It does slow down occasionally to dump a load of exposition on us in what are simultaneously flashbacks and flash forwards and also dream sequences when it tells us about the future, this new future, which I was completely fine with. I think where it starts to get a bit sketchy is its explanation of how Sarah Connor knows what's happening and where to go in this new timeline, and also the reintroduction of Arnold as the T-800. That's where I think the film might lose a few people. Again, it uses the idea that his organic components, his skin, ages like a regular person, and that he is a learning computer. The more time he spends with people, the more human he becomes. Now, if you're a Terminator nerd like me, you will know that that plot detail is covered in the theatrical cut of Terminator 2 Judgment Day, when Arnie says that he has the ability to learn from humans the more time he spends with them. It's in the special edition version where they have to activate his ability to do that, where they cut open his head and remove the CPU and flip the switch, which isn't mentioned in this. It's kind of implied that this T-800 has the ability from the off, which is only a very small gripe, and to be honest, that the humour that comes with Arnie's introduction is also only a small gripe. It's nowhere near as bad as the attempted humour in Rise of the Machines, where he says, talk to the hand, and the nice to meet you stuff in Genisys. It's nowhere near as bad. I think for the sake of this film and the story that it's trying to tell, it does work, and I did laugh on a few occasions. Of course, you get the obligatory kind of I'll be back one-liners, and they also have a couple of references to all of the other films, some more subtle than the others, like the music from T2 when Arnie first arrives and he goes into that biker's cafe, that hangout. You know, the music where it goes Speaking of the music and the score, of course it's got the da-dum dum da-dum, but it doesn't have anything kind of new or unique or memorable about it, especially when it comes to the Rev 9. Like, you know, in T2, where the T1000 has that which you immediately associate with that character. The Rev 9 doesn't have anything like that. I'm not saying that it should have the same music to it. I just wish it had something that you could immediately identify with that character. Maybe a combination of the two, as his character is a combination of the two. The rest of the production is pretty good though. There's some great visual effects, including some digital de-aging stuff and some great action scenes too. The most exciting and exhilarating of which were at the beginning of the film for me. That's not to say the end isn't action-packed. I'm just saying the stuff at the beginning was more grounded, literally. I also have a bit of an issue with some of the cinematography in the film. I think most of the stuff at the beginning is fine because it's all predominantly shot in the day, but there are quite a lot of dark scenes, which I'm not saying I couldn't see or tell what was going on, and it's meant to be dark because it's at night. I'm just saying it's a bit dull. There's no artistry to it, but most of the time there's so much action going on that there's no time to dwell on it. Also, anyone who's seen any of Tim Miller's other work like Deadpool or Love, Death and Robots will know that he's got a certain sense of humour. It's quite juvenile, where characters kind of swear. Like Sarah Connor at one moment in the film, literally all she's saying is "oh shit" and "oh fuck" and "fuck you, you metal motherfucker," which is actually fine, to be honest. And not a miss in a Terminator film. I think it's nice to see in such a PC world that we live in, but it also means that we get some really good violence. I mean, God forbid that we see Terminators kill people in this, and they do in this film. So that's my thoughts on Terminator Dark Fate, and pause the video if you want to take a closer look at my enjoyment tracker now. I do think this is a return to form for the Terminator films. Is it perfect? No. Is it as good as T1 or T2? No, I don't think it is, but as a huge fan of those films, I do think of this as the next chapter for these characters, including John Connor. I love what they did with his character in this. If they decide to make more, yeah, okay, I'm fine with that. But if they don't, I'm also fine with that, because we finally have a Terminator trilogy. I actually have done a review for Terminator Genisys, but it was like the third video that I ever made, so it is a bit rough around the edges, so don't feel like you have to check it out, but it's there if you want to. In the meantime, thanks very much for checking out this video. I really do appreciate it. If you can, give it a like, and don't forget to share the Lave. He's back. Subscribe.